Hello, I'm Andrew Collins. This is my self reflection, looking in and out. Today we'll be discussing the presentation of how I'm like a leader through the 10 questions from Gamble and Gamble, kind of the self reflection upon uh, the influence potential, as well as nonverbal communication being an essential part of communication in general. Words can only carry 7% on average of a message emotional meaning. The following 10 questions reflect upon what I believe will help to fill in a portion of the 93% and determine if I have influence potential. When addressing followers, the question would be asked: do you dress like they are dressed? As well as the fluidity of style. This question requires that the reader be fluid in their style. Working in a technology sales environment, such as that I do, I have to dress casually enough to relate to information technology professionals or IT staff uh, who are casually dressed to perform maintenance on machines, yet polished enough to appear professional and competent. This is an area that I answered yes to without hesitation when reflecting on my influence potential. Another area where I see this as an option or ability to excel is my ability to fit in within a variety of lifestyles. I am able to, as Spartan racers say, go beauty and beast all in one day. And what that means or translates to is I can run a mud run obstacle course in the morning and dress up for a night at a private Hollywood club all in a day's work. The picture you are viewing is my fiance and I running the zoo run one morning and attending the Magic Castle that evening, a private club in Hollywood. Of the 10 questions, do you tend to wear neutral colors? Yes. Of course, except when my fiance makes me change. This is an area that I do naturally, and my fiance is actually trying to change it, as I mentioned. She is of the opinion that bolder colors help one stand out, and that great leaders stand out through doing so. She would not agree with Gamble and Gamble that this is a good non-verbal communication tool to exert influence potential. Here is one of the few times she was able to exert her influence and get me to wear more of a color pattern in my shorts, as you can see. Uh, from there, you would look at, does your posture tend to be open and relaxed? And how about eye contact? I would definitely have to say yes on those. Some of the influencing themes would be self-assurance. This is an area that, after some self-reflection, I think that I excel at. I am usually very aware of nonverbal posture no-nos, such as crossing your arms and being closed off, slouching, turning away from the person, those kinds of things. After years in sales, this has become an easy task to maintain. Of the strength management themes that help managers influence and be successful is self-assurance. The influencing themes include activator, competition, significance, command, maximizer, or that woo factor, in communication. as well as the self-assurance, as I mentioned. In my opinion, self-assurance is most easily communicated through posture and secondary eye contact. Sustained eye contact is a key factor in nonverbal communication and influence potential. With that leading into that, it's important to say, does your voice sound confident? And I'd say maybe. I'd lean toward yes, but you never know 100% of the time. As you're hearing this now, I've played the presentation back, and you can definitely probably pick up on some vocal hesitations. This is an area that I could use some work on, as I think most people could. I think I sound confident and can present with ease, but then when playing the presentation back, I find too many ums and hesitations that I do not hear while presenting. This is an area that I believe takes a lot of practice, and some of the more difficult ones to develop. Vocal hesitations like can reduce the potency of a message that one is trying to get across. Another question, of course, is your behavior consistent? And I have to say a little of both. I'd want to put a maybe, but it's yes and a no. It kind of breaks down into 2 points between education, work, and life. With achievement, consistency, focus, deliberate action, responsibility, and discipline. Consistency has been a yes and no. Yes, with regard to work and jobs, I have been consistent, led by example, and am not impulsive, jumping from one job to the next. I have been very consistent, staying at jobs long term and leaving only when a new opportunity that is truly overall better presents itself. However, with regard to education, it was a no until about a year ago. I had several times throughout life tried to take a class here and there, but had not been consistent enough to achieve my goal of a bachelor's degree. That changed about a year ago, as I mentioned, when I enrolled at Mesa Community College and have since transferred over to Ottawa University to continue my enrollment, and I'm about 1 year from my bachelor's degree. Lastly, in life, I try to exercise consistency and finish what I start. While I'm not always successful, I do feel that I am not seen as someone who is impulsive. Manager strengths should include those things I mentioned earlier, such as achievement, consistency, focus, deliberate action, responsibility, and discipline. I'm working on the achievement with regard to education, as that is the area personally that has lacked in my ability to be a successful influencer. That leads into, do your words and behaviors support each other? Falsification, concealment, equivocation. Leadership requires that your actions mirror your words. As we live in a social media age where people are very quickly found out for not engaging in this behavior. Falsification, creating a fiction, concealment, not revealing a reason for an action, or equivocation, changing the subject and dodging the issue altogether, are ways that a leader may be seen to deceive and not have their words and actions mirror each other. While I do not do these regularly, there are times that I do use these, and therefore this category goes into the maybe column. Another way that we can look at this is, are you able to demonstrate concern for others? Through empathy, listening. I definitely have to say yes on this. People should not feel disregarded. They need to be heard and feel like you care. This is an area that I reflect on as being firmly in the yes category for me. I use nonverbal cues such as nodding to let someone know I am listening. I smile, I use eye contact, and I try to appear, relaxed and open, all nonverbal cues just to let someone know I'm listening and concerned and interested in what they're saying. I'm not dismissive, as this makes me feel unimportant, and like to in turn make others not feel that way as well. You know, that kind of ties into, do you mirror the behavior of those you want to reach? In sales, mirroring is extremely important. So I would have to say yes. You know, I find that this is definitely in the yes category for me in this culture. However, if I'm trying to influence and lead people of another culture, I would need to do research and need to change some of the ways in which I mirror others' behavior. For example, the appropriate distance between people varies from culture to culture. Not adjusting to another culture in this small regard could vastly impact my answer to these questions, and make it a no with just one little change. This is referred to as proxemic cues. Do I come across as friendly? I definitely would like to think so. Being approachable and friendly is a core leadership trait that I find many of my former bosses lacked, and therefore did not have a cohesive team that they could have had. This caused them to not get the buy-in that they needed, and they were not able to influence the team in the same way a leader who is approachable and friendly does. I strive to always be a yes in this category, but after self-reflection, I cannot say that is 100%. I like the idea of friendliness as realistic optimism. Optimism in the traditional application of positive psychology is often contrasted with pessimism and discussed in the context of managers overcoming adversity. Bart's notes that there are two fundamental ways for managers to view adverse events. The first is they imagine the worst and wallow in self-pity or be a pessimist. The second, they can view such events as temporary, surmountable, and challenges to overcome, hence the optimistic approach. I like to think coming across as an optimist would be the best way to increase the perception that I'm friendly. It would also help others give a more positive outlook on life or at any task that is at hand. In summarization, through this self-reflection, I found that I had more yeses, which was good, more than I expected. Still area for improvement. I found this exercise to be eye-opening and affirmative that I'm working in the right direction, as I had many questions that I was able to confidently answer yes to. This helped define areas that I can continue to work on to increase my leadership ability with regard to nonverbal communications. I appreciate you listening. Again, this is Andrew Collins, and thank you for your time.